The reason we blame victims has a lot to do with moral values, human psychology, but also grammar?
Oh goody, another Franchesca video. And remember, this is in no way about changing your language at all.
Nope.
This feels like it's missing someone. Someone with an idiotic point of view?
What? What? What's going on?
Franny's back.
Oh, god damn it.
Madness and stupidity.
No matter what bad thing happens to you, whether you get your wallet stolen, get food poisoning, or have a tree branch fall on your parked car, you can be certain someone, somewhere, is going to blame you for what happened.
Really? How so? If you're being an irresponsible little twit and you go for clams on the half shell at your local gas station and car wash, you're a moron who deserves food poisoning. Park under a tree during a bad storm and you're bound to get some damage. Does that make you a victim? In the words of Franchesca herself.
Nope.
Nope. Oh, come on. Everyone is a victim of something at this point. What? You made a mistake? I'm a victim now. What? Nature did a thing? I'm a victim now. Franny, not everything makes you a victim. In order for there to be a victim, there needs to be a perpetrator. Mother Nature is out to get you in the same sense that Mother Nature is out to get everybody.
They'll say things like, well, you should have put your wallet in a different pocket.
Now that's just bad advice. A pickpocket can tell which pocket your wallet is in, likely because that person watched you put it in there. Is she for real?
Yes, she exists.
God damn it, I was hoping I was high.
Nope.
I think I'll cut out that graphic and leave it up there for the duration of the video. Also, explain something to me. 1.8 million subs, less than 7,500 views, and more dislikes than likes. How do I get those numbers? Manic, would you stop spinning for a second? You're making me nauseous.
Well, you could always just listen, since my show is mostly talking anyway. Anyway, what was that other example again?
I would have parked somewhere else. You know what they say, trees. They'll get you.
Of course! Okay, that is good advice, Franny. They aren't saying you are at fault. They are making a suggestion to help avoid that situation again. In order for your little joke to make sense while still using the term victim, the trees would actually have to be out to get you.
Ever see The Happening?
What? No.
And that movie sucks. I'll bet you it has better ratings than your show.
Unintentional comedies are the best.
What a story, Mark.
And this pattern has a name. It's called victim blaming. And to help us understand the psychology of what's going on, let's use the show 13 Reasons Why as an example.
Oh good, we're gonna use fiction as an example for reality. Can I use The Terminator as an example for why we should shun technology and be Amish?
In a recent interview, Alicia Bowe, who plays Jessica on the show, talked about the fans' reactions to her revelation that her character was the victim of sexual assault. Here's what she said. I thought everyone would sympathize with Jessica because of what she's been through, but basically people are slut-shaming Jessica. They're calling her a bitch and saying she deserved it, and Jessica shouldn't be that drunk at a party.
Given that Jessica is a fictional character in a TV show that, as you characterize it, is somewhat problematic...
Now, as we've discussed before, the show is not without its problems.
I don't see a problem with this. I constantly yell at the contestants on Chopped to stop with their sob stories, clean the blood from the cut on their hand, and get on with that delicious chocolate mousse. At least they're real people and not fictitious, non-representative characterizations of stereotypes.
Not to mention, the idea that you shouldn't get wasted at a party sounds like good advice for anyone. When you're wasted, people can easily take advantage of you. This is why I wasn't a victim of Sharpie assault when dicks were drawn on my face while I was passed out years ago. My so-called friends were assholes and I had learned a life lesson. Don't get too wasted that you pass out around people because drunk people are often assholes.
You hear that? The guy who assaulted her isn't the problem. It's that Jessica shouldn't have gotten drunk, which is victim blaming 101.
No, the guy is still at fault for the action, but the advice is meant to encourage a change of behavior so that it doesn't happen again. Remember, drunk people are assholes, and if you're drunk, you're likely hanging around with other drunk people.
And people don't take responsibilities for their actions anymore. Is someone who's a victim of sexual assault to blame for their assault? Of course not. That would be absurd. However, this brings up an interesting question. Let's say you go out and get blackout drunk. Are you no longer responsible for your actions? By your logic, if I down 7 bottles of Jägermeister with a tequila chaser and then go on a drive on the sidewalk on Times Square, I'm not responsible. It's the guy who sold me the damn liquor.
Ah, don't be silly. It was the people who designed Times Square's fault for not making it drunk driving friendly.
And oh, how I wish that I only had this fictional example of victim blaming. But in reality, this happens to sexual assault victims all the time. So why do people do this? Short answer, some people are
Yes. Franny got something right. People are assholes. Now let's stop policing everyone and focus on our own responsibilities. It's like I tell my wife when she's driving, putting on makeup, checking emails, and texting at the same time. It's not you I'm worried about, it's the other assholes.
I'm a little worried about your wife, actually.
You should be.
But here's the thing. Franny is right that some people are fucking assholes. This goes all the way down to people doing the bad things that turn other people into these so-called victims, like, getting messed around with when you're drunk, or having dicks drawn on your face. To some, I was a victim, even though to myself, I don't consider myself a victim. I was violated, but I wasn't a victim because I put myself in the situation to be taken advantage of. But by recognizing that, I reduced the chances of being put in that situation again. Now, if you take that advice and apply it to a more extreme example like rape, now you have a victim and a perpetrator, but you still are responsible for getting drunk. You're not responsible for getting raped, just limiting your own faculties so you can't effectively defend yourself. Be smart. Some people are assholes that don't care about your consent. They're called rapists.
which is victim blaming 101.
Ugh. Right, let only certain people be responsible for their actions so as little as possible is learned. Nobody is saying that getting wasted is on the same level as raping someone in terms of bad decisions. But they are both bad decisions.
Says the stoner.
Hey, I never claimed I make good decisions, and this is tobacco, by the way.
Longer answer? Well, let's take a step back and look at some psychological studies. In 1966, Dr. Melvin Lerner conducted a study where test subjects watched a victim receive electric shocks. In designing the study, Dr. Lerner made sure that his test subjects didn't know the victim was an actor, and he found something interesting. The less control the subjects had over stopping the electric shocks, the lower opinion they formed of the victim.
Huh, interesting.
So the guy was an actor and didn't really get shocked? Interesting.
Indeed.
See, that's the problem with this. It's a hypothesis, which means it needs to be tested, retested, duplicated under the same exact conditions, and then proven to be either false or true. And herein lies a problem. People are assholes. People do tend to devalue others, and people are not predictable entities. Oh, sure, you can predict generalities, but what if most of your test subjects were psychopaths? How about the Milgram experiment, wherein people were told that they were absolved of any responsibilities of inflicting so-called damage on an actor pretending to get shocked? Not the same idea, I get it, but by your logic, victim blamers are like frickin' Nazis. And you know what we do with Nazis?
Ugh. You know, if I had to punch every perceived Nazi I came across, I'd never get any work done.
You have a dark outlook on life.
Oh, you have no idea.
In other words, when people couldn't help the person, they had to find a way to devalue them. This led Lerner to coin what is now known as the just world hypothesis, which is basically when people really want to believe that the universe is morally fair and that people get what they deserve.
I personally think everything happens at random, and the fact that everything happens at random means the world is open to many possibilities. We see patterns because systems do get formed in nature, but random shit still gets in the way to destroy them so that new systems are formed. As for people getting what they deserve, basically I think you can do whatever you want, but you do have to suffer the consequences. If you want to go out and limit your faculties without a safety net to make yourself an easier target, there might be adverse consequences to that.
The reason why this belief is so common is actually pretty simple. It's a very comforting thought to believe that the world is fair and that if people just act right, they can control what happens to them.
But Franny, the world isn't fair. It's not fair that people get treated poorly. It's not fair that there are wars and famine and female genital mutilation and MTV Decoded. But you know what? We move on. We grit our teeth and we mush through.
In fact, Lerner found that believing in the just world hypothesis helps people maintain their own personal well-being.
Yes. Lerner found out that people like to try and maintain some semblance of sanity in this insane carousel ride we call life. Congratulations. You are the proud owner of whatever this, I don't know. Blame Richard Spencer.
You know why? Because it sucks to accept that terrible things just happen sometimes and there's nothing you can do about it.
Wow. Franchesca almost seemed woke there for a second. But I can tell from the dead, expressionless eyes that look like doll's eyes in the image, she's still asleep. The shark is more lively.
I'm a casual nihilist. You don't want my opinion.
Yeah, he believes in nothing.
He believes in nothing, Lebowski, nothing.
Basically, anytime you hear someone or yourself say anything that starts with, she should have blank, if only he had blank, if she hadn't done blank, if I were in that situation, I would have blank, they're blaming the wrong person.
No, they are not blaming. They are validating their own morality and judgment on how they would have approached certain situations. I wouldn't have watched this video, but I did. And I'm poorer for it.
I'm not. I feed on nonsense, and this is like a fucking buffet of twisted logic. You see, if I'm gonna blame the victim, I won't be making suggestions to help them avoid the situation next time. I'll just tell them they deserved their outcome because they're a stupid fuck. For example, if I were to say that Richard Spencer deserved to get punched because he said stupid shit, that would be victim blaming. If I were to tell Richard Spencer that saying stupid shit near an angry mob might be the reason he was assaulted, that wouldn't be blaming him, that would be explaining the event. If I were to suggest that he should be more careful with his words around angry mobs, that is not blaming him either. That's making a suggestion to help him avoid violence, because when you say stupid shit, especially controversial shit like Richard Spencer does, people are gonna have high emotions around you, and people who are emotional are generally unpredictable.
And a big part of the reason why is because they're talking about the wrong person, and this can be fixed with basic grammar.
Yay! This is what I tune in to watch on YouTube. English lessons. Think she'll teach us about past tense when it comes to slavery?
No, we're still on the hook for that even though we don't own slaves and are against slavery. I don't know how that works, but that's how it is. As for this bit, I don't mind it much. I'm a firm believer in it's not what you say, it's how you say it when it comes to a convincing argument. However, the odds of everyone speaking the exact same language, even when using the exact same language, is unlikely and would be quite boring. What would happen is the words would become automatic and the emotional attachment to any of it would be lost. It really depends on the message trying to be delivered. Are you trying to convince people someone is guilty, or are you trying to convince people to change their behavior? That is what is known as context.
A 2016 study narrated hypothetical crime scenarios to almost 1,000 participants. When they changed the sentence structure and focused on the perpetrator of the crime, people were significantly less likely to blame the victim.
All right, this is a study. It's not real life. If I came to you and said, Franny, Manic Idiot approached me and gave me a spiked drink and then sodomized me, and presented as a hypothetical, you might be inclined to say, well, you shouldn't hang around Manic Idiot, he's a known butt bandit.
Oh, come on, one time and you get a reputation. But regardless of your inclinations, there is nothing wrong with thinking about how you want to frame a sentence in order to best speak a message. It is also important to try to understand that suggestions are not victim blaming, they're suggestions. Now, using the example of online posts, basic suggestions can absorb the tone of other posts made around it, meaning if a whole mess of people are in fact victim blaming and someone throws out a suggestion meant to help, it can be viewed as more victim blaming. It sort of gets lost amidst the noise.
Show me a real-life scenario instead of hypotheticals, Franny. Speaking in abstract is easy. See, I'm doing it right now.
So by simply changing the wording to, Dan approached Lisa at a party, Dan gave Lisa a drink spiked with Rohypnol, later that night Dan assaulted Lisa, people were less focused on Lisa and what she should have done, and they were more likely to blame Dan for, committing a crime.
Did you just bleep out goddamn? Goddamn. That's just so gosh darn vexing.
God f***ing it!
Basically, by shifting the grammatical focus from the victim to the perpetrator, our brains are more likely to zero in on the actions of the criminal.
No, Franny. People are naturally skeptical when they are presented with a scenario that they are not privy to. If you don't see something, how can you verify the claims being made? You have to go by instinct and make value judgments based on your lived experience. See that? I used a buzzword. I feel so filthy now, Franny.
Shit, I feel dirty just hearing it.
So filthy. I blame you.
Hey, journalists, police officers, lawyers, school administrators, are you listening? Focus on the perpetrator.
They do focus on the perpetrator, Franchesca. Unfortunately, some of those victims are not actually victims, and they have been falsely accusing people of assault, even if it didn't happen, or if it was consensual. And when they were called out on it, people like you rolled out and screamed victim blaming and managed to ruin people's lives. Just look at Mattress Girl Emma Sulkowicz, the fictional story of Jackie that was plastered all over Rolling Stone, the Duke Lacrosse case. The list goes on, Franny.
Yeah. What he said.
At the end of the day, it's easier for people to dehumanize and blame those they can't help. But fortunately, by adjusting the way we talk about these awful events, we can help shift the perspectives of people around us and shift our own.
Let's try that, Franchesca. Everyone I hate is not a Nazi. White people are not to blame for my lot in life. The gender pay gap is not real. I just needed to go into STEM.
Oh, come on, man. That shit'll never catch on.
Oh, come on. It's worth a try.
Fine. I'll go find you a soapbox you can stand on, but it's not my fault if you get assaulted by Antifa.
Victim blaming! Hey everybody, Finer Print here. This was a fun collaboration, and I want to give a great big shout out to Manic Idiot, who was gracious enough to agree to this collab. He's a great guy, and his channel is packed with great content. It's shit. So make sure you subscribe to his channel if you haven't done so already, and be sure to give him some love. Kill him. Peace.